and Sathiyo. Yet again, a beautiful and soulful evening, I should say. Um, and also a new journey with some new and some old co-travelers. Why I'm calling it a co-travel? Because this has been a journey. It's just not related to few Sundays and few weekdays, but it's about how we process whatever we have been listening. Uh, and to move ahead from where we have reached on this planet at this point of time, it's very important for us to look back and see what we have left behind. And that's what we have been able to experience with Roopa as our guru for the first batch of ancient Indian wisdom with 20 fellow travelers and across various time zones, various countries. So I would like to say that Roopa as a guru is just impeccable. And and somewhere close to Ayodhya, there's a Nath sect, I would like to say about it. They have said a very beautiful thing, which is Guru banayo jani ke, pani piyo chhani ke. So when you choose a guru, you have to actually filter out, and we cannot get anyone better than Roopa, who's so filtered and refined, and she does what she believes in, and that's what actually comes out in her writing, as well as when she narrates or tells us stories. So today we are all here for the Padvi Sikshana, which is the graduation ceremony of the batch one, and also to welcome the new batch. You will see a lot of faces. So the previous batch has been seeing each other, so they will recognize, but there are a lot of people who have come in new. I just introduce Mr. Amar Bhatia to everyone. He said he's ancient and he has no wisdom, but I should say the new batch is going to be really fascinating. Such an eminent writer with us, and he's always ready to learn. We have few grandmothers as well, and in the last batch, what had happened, a grandmother actually gifted the course to her daughter-in-law, and with a lot of selfishness. Okay, I will listen a lot of stories along with my friends, but this time the grandmothers have come into the batch and they say, okay, we will learn and we will narrate stories to our grandchildren. So it's a really exciting time for us. If that would have been an offline batch, it would have been a different story. But today, since we can meet only online, it's really very interesting for us to initiate this process. Without much of ado, I would now invite all the volunteering storytellers from the batch one to start, and then post that we will have Roopa to give her remarks for the graduating batch as well as the welcoming batch and all the other guests who have taken out time to be here. These are micro tales that they will narrate. They were part of the discussions that we did, and they are also part of the other search that people were able to do, because everyone got curious once we had these 4 sessions. And out of that curiosity, people have been reading, we have been discussing about more books, more things, and that's what will happen. So mathematics has always been the #1 choice whenever it comes to choosing subjects since childhood. And I'm sure everyone who was good at mathematics were always saying, man, he's the man. So today, none other than Girish, who's himself a consultant, he will talk about the mathematics in Mahabharata, the connect between that from the Roopa Pai's book. Girish, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Mohit. Thank you so much, Roopa, for such wonderful 4 sessions. And what a better tribute to a computer engineer, than to start something on numbers. So just to kind of enlighten everybody, Roopa is also a computer engineer herself. So I thought, what better thing to kind of talk about any subject when it comes to vastness of that subject is to talk about that subject through numbers. And as we say, age-old wisdom. So again, the age comes in, and the age is again a number. So I thought everything is pointing me towards the numbers. And I thought I'll probably talk about what is so great in Mahabharata and how the numbers stack up. So let me just share my screen to signify the mathematics and Mahabharata. It's not Mahabharata and mathematics. I think it's the math of Mahabharata is what probably I would like to call it. So written in 2-line verse with nearly 1 lakh shlokas of 2 lines each. So nearly around about 2 lakh lines in total which have been written. It's probably the longest epic poem ever written in the age-old history. A 5,000-year-old probable numbers. Again, Roopa has said that these numbers are still being debated. So anywhere between 5,000 to 2,000, depending on which thought process you are coming from. And since the great Mahabharata, the great M, the population of the world has grown from 18 million to 7.7 billion today. So you can imagine the amount of time which has passed through since then. Um, there is a lot of significance attached to number 18 in Mahabharata, and one of the reasons, or one of the point which everybody knows, is that it lasted for around about 18 days. There are 18 pravas in Mahabharata. There are 18 chapters in Gita. There are 1.8 million words in Mahabharata. There are 18 akshuhanis, and akshuhanis I will come later in terms of what they signify. And every digit in akshuhani was always will add to 18. So that's the significance of 18 in Mahabharata for us to kind of go back and talk about what we know about. These are the basics. The armies probably were the biggest thing talked about in Mahabharata. There were obviously the Pandavas and the Kauravas, but every army in that time. I mean, we have seen so many Hollywood movies where we have seen Roman armies, and how organized they were, and how effective and how lethal they were. If you go back to the age of Mahabharata, the armies themselves were very, very organized. So every army had uh, one patti, and the one patti comprised of um, one chariot with two people, one elephant probably with 5 to 6 people, three horses with one rider each, and 5 foot soldiers, which is the foot soldier, the padahata. So three ashwa, one gaja, one rath, or the chariot. So three pattis made was one senamukha, and one senamukha. Uh, so three pattis made one senamukha. Three senamukha made one gumlas. Three gumlas made one gana. Three ganas made one wahini. Three wahinis made one purthas. Purthanas. Three purthanas made one chamus. One chamus. Three chamus made one anikins, and 10 anikins made a big fat akshuhani, which comprised of 21,870 chariots, 21,870 elephants, 65,610 horses with obvious riders, and 1,09,350 foot soldiers. Now, just to kind of get back into the enormous numbers which were there, the Kauravas had 11 akshuhanis, which comprised of 2,40,570 chariots, similar number of elephants, 720, 710, 7,21,710 horses, and 12 lakh plus foot soldiers. Compared to that, the Pandavas had 7 akshuhanis, comprising of more than 7,65,000 foot soldiers. Now, if you look at the vastness and the numbers, you can just imagine both armies facing each other, the number of people, and the real math, if you actually do it, comprised of nearly 4,040,000 fighters in front of each other. And the beautiful part was every warrior in the army was designated. A Rathi was a normal foot soldier or a horse rider, an Atirathi who could actually take on 10,000 warriors at any given point of time alone, a Maharathi who could take 60,000 warriors or 6,000 Atirathis at the same time, the Ati Maharathis who could take on 12 Maharathis at any given point of time alone, and there were some Maharathis. So Ati Maharathis were Arjuna. Mahamarathis were Shiva, Krishna, Rama, and it is said that there were never ever a case which happened where 24 Ati Maharathis came together. So it's still to be proven whether a Mahamarathi could have taken 24 Ati Maharathis at the same time. But again, this is something which kind of tells us the skills, the amount of strength and the ability of those warriors at that point of time. And uh, the beautiful part is everybody were designated and provided for their kind of skills. And that's what the whole number game looks like. So you can imagine a Mahamarathis, how many people, how many warriors he could have actually. You can do your own math. How many warriors they could have taken on at any given point of time, and their skill levels. I would like to kind of end this small information with the names which were given to Krishna. Krishna was given around about 40 names in the Gita, and around about 40 names to Arjuna. Now, the entire source of all this information is one book by Roopa, the Gita for Children. So please go ahead, have a read. It's a wonderful book to kind of read through. Thank you so much.
That's amazing. Wow, thank you, Girish. And it was a good decision to put you in the first, right? I now understand the World War I and II has no relevance, especially with the population of 18 million. When you are talking about these numbers,
Yeah.
it makes the World War zero. And
There
I
were only
certainly
85.
see.
There were only 85 million people died in World War, whereas 4 million died compared to that in
My
Mahabharata.
goodness, it's a voluminous number of, and the sheer size of it. We'll have to go to Kurukshetra, all of us together. Let's go and take a trip to Kurukshetra and see that place actually. Fantastic. So now from here, we move to our next storyteller and the person who has to graduate today with flying marks, I should say. So let's have Garima to narrate the story of sage Ashtavakra.
Thanks, Mohit. In any case, I was under immense pressure of no performance after hearing Roopa out and everybody else out. But I would say what Girish has just done has multifolded that pressure on me. So I would just like to do justice to everybody's time. Girish, no, that was a great piece of information, because a lot of times, no, we hear numbers, but we are not being able to put all of that to perspective. And what you tried to do was that you had to put the comparison in front of us, and then even after then, no, Pandavas won, right? It was obviously, right, a great win for the dharma that they were following, right, the custodians of the right thing, right? So my story is sort of much smaller in no comparison to that. And I'll no, before I start, I'll just give you a quick brief. When Mohit had told me that no, I need to recite something, I was thinking, because I'm no, I mean, up till I heard Roopa out, I had been following a lot of stories, a lot of mythology, but I'm not good with remembering a lot of things, right? And I kept on thinking that what is one thing wherein which is short, crisp, and there could be multiple lessons that could be drawn from it. And that's where I landed onto the story of Rishi Ashtavakra, because I felt it has multiple lessons. So, basis the limited research that I did, Rishi Ashtavakra, while no, if we follow no the research, so they say that the exact century when he was born is not known. But if you read no, the bits of information which is available across the social media and otherwise also in the Vedas, so he was born at the time wherein no, Ram and Sita were present, because there are a lot of scriptures which say that Ashtavakra was guru to Raja Janak, who helped Janak in achieving that vast wisdom, right? So the story goes like this, that Ashtavakra, starting from the literal meaning of the name, is somebody who has 8 defects in the body. So Ashtavakra, Asht meaning 8, and the Vakra meaning defects, which are not the right things, no, in the visual point of view. And how he happened to be born like that is that he was in the womb of his mother, who was sage Aruni, and his father was no great sant no Kahoda, which is also said as no Kahoda in Sanskrit, and Kahoda if you refer to the English variant of it. And both of them came from a rich lineage of gurus, so they were well versed with Hindu mythology, and they were known to be guiding big no, rajas and their kingdoms, etc. And no Kahoda, because he was well known saint and sage during his times, so somewhere the fact of being able to know and remember a lot of things, he got high in that feeling, and he got into the habit of going to Raja Janak's no, kingdom and a lot of other nearby kingdoms, and used to have fights basis the facts and knowledge that different saints at that point of time had. And during that process, he got into an argument with Saint Vandi, which used to be a very big name at that point in time. And no, they agreed to do a fight. Now, what has happened that when no, Kahoda was trying to prepare for it, Ashtavakraji, who was in the womb of his mother at that point in time, sort of became learned through the process of hearing his parents talk about Vedas almost day in and day out, and he developed a lot of knowledge. Now, what he started doing is that because he felt a part of the family already, so whenever their parents used to discuss something and he felt that his father or mother are not saying the right thing, or maybe the pronunciation is not right, he used to create a hum from the womb, right, saying, right, that you shouldn't be saying that. So once Kahoda and Aruni were having a detailed chat when no, Kahoda was preparing for that fight, and Ashtavakra said that 8 times, because he felt that his father didn't do or no recite a particular thing, which was repeated 8 times. And Kahoda, because he felt he is learned, he got offended that how come my child who is not yet born can uh, uh, a better learner, a better person than I am. And in the fit of the moment, he cursed his son to be born with 8 defects. And that's where the name comes from. Now, Ashtavakra, when was born, almost at the same time, these people, no, Kahoda and Vandi, were in that fight of argument to prove who's best. And Kahoda went on to lose that fight. And the agreement was that who loses the fight needs to get a Jal Samadhi. And Kahoda had to get a Jal Samadhi because he lost the fight. Now, when Aruni, the mother of Ashtavakra, found out about this, she felt bad, right? And in some ways, she felt ashamed of the fact also that my husband, who was learned, known to be the best person around that area, how can he lose a fight? And he did not share that fact with Ashtavakra that your father lost a fight and he had taken Jal Samadhi. But Ashtavakra, when he grew up, he found out about that, and he took the pledge to get his father back. And he went on to then challenge the Saint Vandi at the age of 10, when he had to convince the gatekeepers of Janak to let him into the fight. And then he went on to win the fight. And after that, he told Vandi that because the fight always, for all these years, had demanded the person who loses to take a Jal Samadhi, so now it's your turn to take the Jal Samadhi, and that will be my sort of revenge, right, for what you have done to my father. But he went on to then convey that his father, Vandi's father, was doing a yagna at that point in time, because of which a lot of Brahmins were required to take Jal Samadhi, and that yagna is over now. And because Ashtavakra has won over him, so he now will free his father. So Ashtavakra, from the point wherein he was cursed by his father, transformed himself to win over the person who has defeated his father, and then he brought his father back. Now his father felt really bad that my son whom I had cursed brought me back to life. And while they were coming back to their home, he wanted his son to recover. So he requested his son to take a bath in one of the holy rivers which was nearby. and he went and took a dip, and he came out all solid and strong. And then, right, as they say, right, the family or the happiness sort of goes on. So, and Ashtavakra went on to, then we know that he wrote a variant of Gita, or I would say, if I go by the timeline, maybe it was much before, when the actual Gita was narrated by Krishna to Arjuna. And Ashtavakra has been referred in high regards in Ramayana and also in Mahabharata. Right, so my learnings from this was that, one, that you should always be open to learning wherever you get it from, and the minute you close your mind, right, your growth stops. And also, second, that even if you are very good at something, you should try and avoid it going to your head, because that is the start of the destruction of a human being, community, right, and maybe a lot of things attached to it. So that's all from my side. I hope you had fun through the process of listening out to me.
Thank you, Garima. Thank you. I will never tell this story to my mom, because she'll say you are not with 8 defects, you are with million defects. And there has to be some Sanskrit name to it, I guess. But it was a fantastic story. You summarized it very well. And the 2 boys sitting next to you, they will have to judge that mom did a good course. She invested her Sundays and made others invest their Sundays into something good. So it's your turn now to do all these Sundays for us. We will have more of such graduation ceremonies. Thank you very much, Garima.
Thank you. Thank
What
you.
you just closed with, I would like to start it from here, that in the process of learning, there are 4 elements. One is the Siddha, which is the Guru. Second is the Sadhak, who is the aspirant of the learning. Third one is the Sadhan, which is the resource. And the fourth one is the Sadh, which is the goal. So if all these 4 things come together, learning definitely happens. And that's exactly what happened in this batch as well. So I was a resource by the way, and you all have your goals now today. So thank you very much. We move on to our third story by Jyoti Pande, who is a storyteller. And we look forward to not the show of teeth that many a times we see in our movies nowadays, that the villain has a golden teeth, but to someone, and a villain who always takes, but to a person who always gives, had a golden teeth as well. So that's the story of Karna. She is going to narrate today. Jyoti ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Mohit. I hope everyone would be fine if I tell the story in Hindi, because I feel, okay, fine. So, कर्ण के बारे में कहा जाता है कि उनसे बड़ा दानवीर कोई हुआ ही नहीं है, और पूरी महाभारत में अगर कोई मेरे दिल के करीब कोई कैरेक्टर है, पात्र है, तो वो है कर्ण। शिवाजी सावंत की एक बहुत सुंदर किताब है मृत्युंजय, अगर किसी ने पढ़ी हो तो, मराठी में है और उसका हिंदी में अनुवाद भी हुआ है। तो बहुत समय पहले मैंने कर्ण से, चूंकि मुझे बहुत लगाव रहा है हमेशा से, मैंने वो किताब पढ़ी थी, और उसमें एक छोटी सी घटना का वर्णन है जो मुझे कहीं छू सा गया था। कुरुक्षेत्र में महाभारत का युद्ध चल रहा था। 17 दिन हो गए थे। कितनी मौतें, कितना खून, कुरुक्षेत्र की पूरी धरती लाल हो गई थी। भाई भाई के सामने था, कर्ण और अर्जुन एक दूसरे के सामने थे, और दोनों में से किसी एक का मरना निश्चित था। तभी कर्ण का रथ का पहिया धर गया। कहते उन्हें एक श्राप था कि ऐसा उनके साथ होगा, और नियमों के अनुसार उन्होंने अर्जुन से प्रार्थना की कि युद्ध थोड़े समय के लिए रोक दिया जाए, जब तक कि वह अपने रथ का पहिया निकाल नहीं लेते हैं। वह अपने रथ से उतरे और उन्होंने पहिया निकालने की कोशिश की। अर्जुन के सारथी थे श्री कृष्ण भगवान। श्री कृष्ण भगवान ने अर्जुन से कहा, उठाओ अस्त्र और प्रहार करो, उठाओ, इनको मारो। अर्जुन सकुचाए। एक तो भाई, और नियमों के खिलाफ चलना अर्जुन ने सीखा नहीं था। श्री कृष्ण ने उन्हें याद दिलाया, याद करो जब तुम्हारा बेटा अभिमन्यु मर रहा था, क्या किसी ने नैतिकता की, युद्ध के नियमों की परवाह की थी? क्या किसी ने यह चिंता की थी? थोड़ी देर तक अर्जुन ने सोचा, लेकिन जैसा कि हमेशा होता है, श्री कृष्ण की बातों का इतना असर होता था अर्जुन की तरफ, जो पूरे महाभारत में है। उन्होंने अपना तीर कमान उठाया और तीर कर्ण के छाती के आर पार हो गया। कर्ण धरती पर गिर गए, लथपथ, खून से लथपथ, पीड़ा से भरे हुए। श्री कृष्ण देखते रहे, थोड़ा मुस्कुराए। बड़ा सुना था अर्जुन की कर्ण की दानवीरता के बारे में। यही मौका है, यह आखिरी मौका है, एक बार और देखता हूं कितने दानवीर हैं कर्ण। उन्होंने ब्राह्मण का रूप धरा और मूर्छित मरने वाले कर्ण के सामने जाकर खड़े हो गए। ब्राह्मण को देखकर कर्ण ने दोनों हाथ जोड़े। ब्राह्मण देवता, क्या सेवा कर सकता हूं? बहुत दूर से आया हूं, बहुत थका हुआ हूं, कुछ चाहता हूं। कर्ण ने कहा, महाराज, आप राजमहल में होते, जो मांगते मैं आपको दे देता। यहाँ युद्ध स्थल में मेरे पास देने को कुछ नहीं है। झूठ बोल रहे हो, ब्राह्मण ने कहा। तुम्हारे पास स्वर्ण दंत है, सोने का दांत। कहते हैं कि कर्ण को उनके पिता सूर्य ने यह दांत दिया था कि जब तक वह रहेगा तब तक उन्हें कोई मार नहीं सकता। कर्ण ने एक पल भी नहीं लगाया, पास पड़ा हुआ पत्थर उठाया और अपने दांत को उससे तोड़कर उन ब्राह्मण के हाथ में रख दिया। कृष्ण स्तब्ध थे इस दानवीरता से। उन्होंने, कहते हैं, कर्ण को अपना विश्व रूप दिखलाया पहली बार और कहा, वर मांगो। मरते कर्ण ने कहा, क्या वर मांगू? जब से पैदा हुआ हूं, मां ने छोड़ा है। गुरु जो पूजनीय थे, उन्होंने मेरा तिरस्कार किया है। जिस स्त्री को मैंने चाहा, उसने तिरस्कृत किया है। भगवान, एक ही विनती है, मुझे इस मोह माया से मुक्त कीजिए। वह कुछ भी मांग सकते थे, वह युद्ध में विजयी होना मांग सकते थे, वह अमर होना मांग सकते थे, पर उन्होंने मांगी मोह माया से मुक्ति। और शायद पूरी गीता का सार यही है, मोह माया से मुक्ति। शायद इसीलिए ये कहानी मेरे दिल को बहुत छू गई। और कहते हैं, श्री कृष्ण ने उन्हें कहा, तथास्तु। तो ये छोटी सी कहानी थी, आशा है आपको पसंद आई होगी।
This is fascinating. This was brilliant. Wow.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely wow.
Wonderful, Jyoti ji.
कहते हैं ना,
Thank
मजा
you,
सा आ
Jyoti
गया
ma'am.
मजा सा आ गया बिल्कुल ही. And I realized that dentistry used to exist in ancient times as well. So the wisdom was definitely there, and that too they had capability to add metallurgy to that as well. And we had Dr. Pratima Kini in this batch. She can actually tell us how it used to happen. We even had Ayurvedic expert as Nandita from California. She is not able to join us today, but yes, we do realize there was some amazing medicinal capabilities that we had. And you should actually listen to Rupa's story of Sushostra and the people who used to do surgery those days, not during the Mahabharata or Ramayana days, but certainly slightly in the younger age. So now from here we move on to our fourth storyteller for today, and that's the story of a young boy, Adi Shankaracharya, who made India what it is today, and that too by Miss India herself, a former Miss India, Divya Chauhan. The story of making of India by Adi Shankaracharya. Divya, over to you.
Thank you, Mohit, for that lovely adjectives and nouns and verbs. But here I am very small in comparison to everybody who has kind of said such amazing stories and narrated so wonderfully. And as they say that first you have to do pranam to your guru, so my pranam to my guru Roopa right now. Thanks to you, it has, the whole interest has been piqued into these stories and anecdotes and wisdom of the ancient India. By the way, Mohit, as a Miss India, I'm used to answering questions, not giving lectures. Okay. So I was very inspired by that little, we touched upon Adi Shankaracharya during the course, and I went on to read up more about him. So interestingly, Adi Shankaracharya was born about 1200 years back, say in 788 AD or 800 AD, as they say, in a place called Gulati, which is in Kerala. And he was born to this couple who was a very pious couple, and they were devotees of Lord Shiva. Their name was Aryamba and Shivaguru. Shivaguru was the father, Aryamba was the mother. And when they had a son, they named him Shankara because they felt that he's born to them from the grace of Lord Shiva, and as they were Shiva devotees, so they named him Shankara. Now in South India, in every name they attach an A, but in North he would be called Shankar. So it's either Adi Shankaracharya or Adi Shankar. So that's how the name goes. But for all practical purposes, we'll call him Shankara because he was here in Kerala. So Adi Shankaracharya was a very, very bright child. Unfortunately, his father, he died when Shankaracharya was only about 3 years old, and his mother brought him up. And even at the age of 5, or where the time of tender age of 8, he was displaying exemplary, a talent of memorizing things very well, of recollecting things very well, of a certain kind of intellect which usually don't see in an 8-year-old. And his mother used to tell him a lot of stories about the Puranas, the epics, and he used to memorize them very well. And at this point in time, at the tender age of 8, Shankara decided that he wants to become a sannyasi. And sannyasi means he wants to give up the family life, the material life, not look for riches or power or any such thing, or family for that matter. And he wants to go in the pursuit of knowledge. There was a law during that time that if you want to become a sannyasi, you have to take permission from your parents. They have to say yes to it. They have to agree to your decision. And since he only had his mother, he asked his mother that I want to become a sannyasi. Now his mother, because she had lost her husband, and Shankara for her was her only support. And she had dreams of getting her son married and having a family life, having grandchildren, and the support structure. She was shocked that Shankara would leave him and go away. So she did not say yes to his request to her. And it so happened that one day they had gone early morning. Shankara had gone for a bath to this river called River Purna, which used to flow very close to Kalali. And as he was having a bath, his leg got grabbed by a crocodile. And his mother was standing on the banks of the river, and while she was also startled and suddenly surprised at what happened and trying to figure out how to help him, Shankara thought to himself that I don't want to die like this. I want to die as a sannyasi, and I want to actually take up the path of being a sannyasi. So he called out to his mom and said, please agree to let me go. I want to be a sannyasi. At this moment, while the mother was looking here and there and trying to find a way to save him, she just looked at him and reluctantly said yes to him because she couldn't see any other way out right now, and she didn't even know why he's asking this. And it so happened that miraculously at that point in time, the crocodile left Shankara's leg, and Shankara came back to the banks safely without being damaged or hurt by the crocodile. But now that his mother had already said yes to him, she had no choice but to let the young Shankara go on his path of being a sannyasi. So, but Shankara knew that his mother is very, very attached to him, and she will feel very alone, very lonely after he goes. So he told her that you at any point of time, especially during the Sandhya Kalas, any time between the sunset and the sunrise, during the sunset, your voice or whatever you want, if you want to reach out to me, your voice will reach to me, and I will be here. In any of your time of need, you just remember me, and I will be here with you. So his love for his mother was great, though he was a great philosopher. And after he left his mother's home, he went in search of a Gurukul, and we all know that he found a Gurukul in Sri Govind Bhagavad Pada was his guru. And he started his education there. At the age of 16, he graduated from there, and he went on to, walk the length and breadth of this country, at least not once, but twice. Shankara went on to establish the 4 great mutts, which are even existing today, and they're a great source of education. He set up 4 mutts, Sringeri in Karnataka, there's Dwarka in Gujarat, there's one in Puri, Orissa, and of course there's one, the Badrinath one, which is north. So in a way, what Shankara had done was, he probably is the first one who pioneered the start of tourism, if we say pilgrimage, to all these 4 mutts, and kind of united the entire country in a sort of cultural unity, because people would travel to these 4 mutts, they would meet each other, there would be an exchange of ideas, conversation. So he was the first person to start it. He was an excellent philosopher, thinker, strategist, master planner. He set all these things up. And while he was in Kashi, he had this intuition that his mother is remembering him, and probably this is probably her last moments. So he left everything and he came back to see that his mother was actually on her deathbed and she had just a few moments. And when he came there, he was in even though he was such a realized soul, but looking at his mom in that situation, his heart also became tender, and he tried to help her by first reciting the glories of the Lord, which she could not understand, or the Brahma, which she could not understand. Then he talked to her about Shiva and all his different, incarnations, but she was again not able to get that. Then he spoke to her about Vishnu and the super consciousness, and at that moment in time, his mother left the body while in the thoughts of Vishnu, the Lord himself, and the super consciousness. It's said that she achieved her mukti at that point in time. So this whole story was fascinating because it shows the great love that Adi Shankacharya had for his mother, in spite of being such a great thinker, philosopher, non-attached, realized soul who understood the difference between, Brahma, and he got the concept of non-duality. So this particular aspect was so beautiful because I thought that this is something which is even relevant in our times today, whether we see our Bollywood movies or we see scriptures, the mother's position is considered at such a, the respect for a mother is so supreme. So when you look back and see, as you had said, Mohit, that what we started so many years back and where we have lost or what, I think it's beautiful that that thread of respect still continues till date. So this story was fascinating from that perspective for me. Thank you.
Wow, Divya, thank you. So from a Miss India, you just spoke about the Mother India. Fantastic. That was lovely. Okay, so from here we move on to the story of happiness and friendship. And that too, friendship that started on the notes of ego, and how God comes when you become egoistic because of your power, your capabilities. And that's the story of Hanuman and Arjuna and how they became the best friends. None other than Divya. She's going to narrate this story. And to everyone, let me tell you, Divya was actually gifted this course by her mother-in-law. And today her mother-in-law has actually bought everyone, all of her friends for this session. So Divya, be specially prepared. You really need to focus. This is your show now. Over to you. Yeah, Divya.
That is not my story actually. That was mine. Yes.
Oh, sorry, that's Shweta. So sorry. So that's Shweta's turn. So sorry, I'll have to rewind everything. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. And I was sitting here, thinking, what would I tell now? Yeah, is telling that story.
Just imagine if that would have been a real stage. These two ladies would have kicked me out of the stage. And man, what are you doing? What dapper he is. So sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Let me rewind it back. And this course was gifted to to Shweta. This is my, yeah, I'm so sorry, Shweta.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you, Mohit. Thank you, Roopa. Thanks to all my batchmates. You've been wonderful, and the energy is infectious. So this particular story. Before I start, before I spoke to Mohit, I knew one part of the story, and Mohit then told me the other part of the story. So I combined both the parts and present it to you. So the story here goes, in the foreground, it is Battle of Mahabharata, 17th day. Arjuna was fighting with Karna, and both are Maharathis, and it so used to happen. They both had egos that who is better archer, who is better Dhanurdhar. So when Arjuna used to shot the arrow to Karna, Karna's rath would get straight meters away, and when Karna used to shot his arrow, Arjuna's rath would get fueled by a meter or maybe a foot. Arjuna was again in the ego, or this feel of supremacy that I am a better Dhanurdhar, and Krishna, who was the Sarthi of Arjuna, got the feel of it. Now that this guy is having ego popping up, and which is not good in the field of war. When you're actually fighting, it could go against your strategy. So he just looked at the flag of Arjuna, the Rath ke upar jo flag tha, he just looked at it, and we all know that there's an image of Hanuman on it. So it is actually Hanuman sitting on the Rath of Arjuna. So Krishna just looked at the flag, and Hanuman got what the message he was trying to say. So Hanuman just lift his left leg off the chariot, and when now Karna shot the arrow, the chariot of Arjun flew meters and far behind, and Arjuna was like, what has happened now? I mean, aise kaise ho gaya? What has happened now? And I was doing good all the while. And then Krishna reminded him, look, I am here, I am your Sarthi, I am not fighting, I cannot help you out in any other way. You have the force of Hanuman with you. It is his might that your Rath is stable here. And then the story goes, why is Hanuman sitting on the Rath of Arjun? So before the battle of Mahabharata started, Krishna advised Arjun to go to all the pilgrimage, get the knowledge, make a friendship with the king, so that they come to your side and fight from your side. So on such travel, one such day, Arjun went to Rameshwaram, and he saw that bridge, the Adam's bridge, or Ramasetu as we call it. And he saw the bridge, and he talked to himself that Ram is one of the most finest Dhanurdhar of his time, as this is what I know. And if he was such a great Dhanurdhar, why would he take help of Vanars or monkeys to cross the ocean? He could have made the bridge himself. Why take help of monkeys? And how would monkey help him? And there, beneath a tree, there was sitting Hanuman, who was sitting in dhyan. He was doing meditation, and these words, hit his ears. And he was like, how can someone say this about Vanars? How can someone say this about monkeys? We, in all our capability, help Lord Ram in whatever way we can, and we are, not lesser than anyone. We are not lesser than anyone. We have, we have had good engineers in our times, the Nal and Neel. And Hanuman himself is called, Aturidbal Dhamam Hemashailabadeyam, he who has the body of Himalaya. Hanuman didn't like Arjun saying this, and he went to Arjun and say, how can you say that? Can you make a better bridge than what they have made? Arjuna said, of course, why not? I would even not require, stones. I would make it from my arrows. And he shot arrows from his bow and made a bridge. And Hanuman then said, oh, such a bridge, I would break it with my left toe. And he just touched the bridge, and the bridge got collapsed. And then Arjun thought, how can a monkey collapse a bridge which is created by me, the Arjuna? And the conversation was going on, and the conversation turned into debate. And then they saw a old Brahmin coming to them and said, why are you fighting? Let us make another bridge and see if Hanuman can break it, he wins, or if he cannot, you win. So they agreed upon this. And then Arjun made the bridge with arrows again, and Hanuman tried to jump over it, walk over it, and he couldn't break the bridge. Then he came down. He said, "Okay, well, I guess we were escalating it for no reasons." And when we were discussing this, Arjun said, "No, I got through ego, and I shouldn't have said this and all that." They were discussing, and then they realized, seeing that old Brahmin who was carrying the bridge on his shoulder, it was actually him supporting the bridge. That's why the bridge didn't collapse. And when Hanuman saw the Brahmin, he saw the image of Ram in him. And when Arjuna saw the Brahmin, he saw the image of Krishna in him. So both them said, to the Brahmin, Bhagwan, you shouldn't have taken all that pain for us, for me. And then the Brahmin, who was actually the incarnation of Vishnu, to Hanuman he was Ram, to Arjun he was Krishna. They said this whole purpose of uniting you was for a reason, that so and so battle is going to take place, and we would need Hanuman, as we all call, is also known as Dharma Dhwaj Rakshit. So we want Hanuman on our side. We want because we have to win a battle against unjust and wrongdoing. So that is why the whole thing was played, and that's how they became friends. And then Hanuman said, whenever you are on side of Dharma, I'll always help you, and henceforth we are friends. And that's how you see the image of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna's chariot, and that's how a friendship became and flourished. And the moral that I took out of this story, number one, even if you are genius, even if you are the most wonderful person you think you are, take a pause. There is always be someone who has more virtues, more values, who is more mightier, more intelligent than you. So never enter a battle or anything which you are doing in life with ego. Shun that ego. There will always be someone who is better than you. And there is whenever you're doing anything, keep your friends with you in whatever you do. So there's a saying in Hindi, "Bal se bal milta hai." So if you have good people with you, you'll surely win. So that was that. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic.
Clap.
Fantastic. Now I know that many people in this part of the country where we live towards Delhi NCR, why do they have on their Scorpios and safaris, they put a Hanuman flag. At least you know the full story now.
It's angry Hanuman.
Tell them, boss, you will need to have, and because ego is one acidity which cannot go with any eno, I guess. And that's what happens when you have too much of ego. And you always need good friends around you. And what happens actually when you learn and when you shed your ego, you graduate into something good. And with this, I call upon my sixth speaker, whose story is actually about graduation itself. When the Asuras, the Devas, and the normal people graduated, what actually happened? They sang a song which was da da da. So here it is, Diya. this time I won't make a mistake. Otherwise, Garima will say she feels more human. I don't want to be her to be a superhuman again. I will not make any mistake anymore. Over to you, Dia, please.
Wait, rarely no, we find an option to pull your leg, and I didn't want to miss the chance.
That's what I said. I will not make you a superhuman, anyways.
Over to you.
Dia, over to you.
Thank you so much. I'll start. This is a story from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, or the Great Forest Upanishad. It has become one of my favorite stories as it made me delve within and try to understand myself in a different manner. A drop in the ocean, yet I'm trying to be a complete drop. So here goes the story adapted from Roopa's book. The gods, that is the Devas, the humans, and the demons, or the Asuras, had been studying under the guidance of their creator, Prajapati. At the end of their education, they went turn by turn to seek their final piece of advice from their guru. The gods went first and asked Prajapati, "What advice do you have for us?" "Da," said their father and creator Prajapati. The gods were pleased, and when Prajapati asked them what they had understood, they said, "We have understood, father. Da is for damyata, that is self-restraint." Prajapati was pleased for his sons, the Devas, as he was aware that they could get carried away with their life of pleasures and needed to exercise self-control. Now the humans went to Prajapati and sought his advice. "Da," said Prajapati, and the humans were pleased with his advice. "Have you understood?" he asked. "Yes," they said. "Da is for datta, generosity and letting go." The human children had a habit of holding on to everything, and this lesson was what was important for them to learn. It was finally the turn of the demons, or the Asuras. On asking what advice Prajapati had for them, he again said, "Da." "Have you understood?" he asked. The demons replied, "Yes, we have understood. Da is for dayadhvam, or compassion. You want us to be compassionate." Prajapati was pleased that his sons, the demons, who had a cruel streak, needed to be kind and compassionate. Now think about it. Whenever there's a storm and thunder claps, it goes da, da, da. It is reminding you damyata, datta, and dayadhvam. Exercise self-control, self-giving, and compassion. Now let me ask you, how does all this translate into our lives? Each one of us contains in ourselves both God and demon. The divine part in us is prone to excessive behaviors, to living larger than life. It gets caught in splendors and riches. Thus, we need to exercise self-control. The human part in us holds on to everything, thus getting caught in limitedness. So, be generous and self-giving. The demoniac part in us makes us mean and hurtful to others. Thus, we need to be compassionate.
Oh, fantastic. So now we know how the song Da 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 comes. And it is all about us. It's never about anyone else. Be it the demon, be it the god, or be it us, the tiny little minute human beings we are. But certainly we all need someone to guide us. And there can be no better person than Roopa herself to give her passing remarks to this batch, as well as welcoming note to the new batch that is coming in. We have a lot of people who have joined in from the new batch as well. Roopa, over to you, please.
Thank you, Mohit. This was such a. First of all, I should let everyone know that the batch just completed is my very first graduating batch of adult students. So I'm so proud of all of you, and I'm so grateful to all of you for your indulgence, for trusting that I could do this when you signed up without knowing anything about how this course would go. There were no recommendations, word of mouth, nothing, but you just chose to trust me. And for that, I owe a big debt of gratitude to Mohit. I think he was the one who sort of urged and urged. He's been after me for about 1.5 years now, asking me to do something with CBL. And finally, it was COVID that helped us get together, because it was always like, he's in Delhi, I'm in Bangalore. How will it happen? How will I go? It was just not coming together. And anyway, in those times, we were never talking about a course. It was always like a talk, come and address a gathering kind of thing. So, so this really worked very well for me. And I have had a wonderful time. And from your appreciation, I believe I may have the talent to teach, which I was not sure. When I was very young, in 2nd grade, I remember I was asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And a lot of my friends were saying they wanted to be, I don't know, air hostesses and doctors and things like that. And my first top priority was to be a mummy. I wanted to be a mom. That was the only time I think I brought tears of joy to my mother's eyes. Never again, never before. And the second one was teacher. I want to be a teacher. So the mom thing got realized several years ago, but the teacher thing had not been realized. So thank you so much, Mohit, for getting me to take that one off my bucket list, and with such a great group of students. So thank you all so much for being part of this journey of myself as a teacher. So this is my rebirth as a teacher. So this is, we all have so many birthdays. This will also be one of my birthdays, which I celebrate my Janam Din as a teacher. So, and I would not call myself guru at all. I'm at most a teacher, perhaps. Guru is very demanding. I don't think I'm anywhere there. But thank you guys, and absolutely fabulous performances today. I feel so good that the stuff I told you has impacted you so much. It has been internalized, it has been absorbed, and you're able to articulate it again. That was the point of this whole thing, right? As we discussed, one of the Upanishads, it says in a graduation speech that the teacher gives to the graduating students in the Upanishad, he says, Swa Adhyaya and Pravachana. Remember these two things. Whatever you do, Swa Adhyaya, you can learn from a guru, but you must also learn by yourself. And that is evidenced. All of you went off and did your own research. We talked about apart from what we talked about in the course, you all went and found out other stories, made your own conclusions, drew your own morals and values from it, and shared it. So that's the thing. Swa Adhyaya is important to fill your cup. But unless you also empty the cup by doing pravachana and teaching it on to someone, there is only stagnation. So you have to keep your cup empty, keep filling it up, keep passing it on. I will totally borrow from that guru in the Upanishads and tell you the same thing. Swa Adhyaya Pravachana, da da da. So those are my concluding remarks to my graduating batch and to the batch that's coming in. A very warm and hearty welcome. And I'm these students have raised my value in your eyes, I'm sure, and you're expecting so much from me because of their performances. So I hope I will be able to live up to your expectations. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you all and getting to know all of you in a little more detail on Saturday. Thank you for making the time to attend this session as well. And we are full house again, apparently. So for the next session as well. So thank you, Divya. I'm going to miss all your smiling faces. Definitely always there on time. So that was always such a pleasure. And Mohit is like this amazing networker and lovely, warm human being. So he would be there 15 minutes before everybody else. And then, there would be these chats that happened pre-class, which was actually the fun time of the class when everybody sort of talked about their day and general other kind of conversation, and then we would segue into the class. So it was all a really lovely experience, and it was always on a Sunday morning. And yes, I'm so sorry that our timekeeper isn't here, Sushant.
Sushant is not here today.
Yeah, if he didn't keep the time clock going, I would have talked the class would have gone on for 3 hours and nobody would have noticed. That was the problem. So in the end,
let me tell you the instance.
His task in his house to do bartan after lunch, right? So he'd say, no, I'm going because I really need to go. And that's how we would know.
For the coming batch, since the timing is 4:30 in the evening, they will have to make the dinner. So Roopa, please, dinners cannot be missed.
Somebody has to take, when we meet on Saturday, we'll designate one person as the timekeeper. Otherwise, I can just keep talking about the subjects. To me, they're endlessly fascinating.
Prakashi with us. From the next batch, we have Prakashi. Will make him the timekeeper this time.
Okay.
So that we are sure that he is also there. And we have Raji, who has joined us from Dubai now. She couldn't come for the entire session today, but we have people from Dubai who have come in. If you can all switch on your cameras, I would be able to see Diksha from Canada. When she joined, it was 2 a.m. from the
2
previous
a.m.
And Diksha, how does it feel to be at a timing which is normal for you, I guess?
I know, seriously.
Let me tell everyone, Diksha herself is an author and she has written books on how she can inculcate habits about our festivals. And that too, she's taking up it in Canada. Oh, see the bright sunlight there. Wow, Diksha, you look so different in the sunlight.
How the tables have turned.
See, the sun shines here too. Yeah, it's been a very nice experience. Thank you, Roopa, so much. You've enlightened us so much that I think when we talk to kids out here, not only the South Asian children, but all the children that we have, all the Canadian children, it's going to be easier to talk to them and explain certain things. Thank you for being so patient in answering all of my questions. It was an amazing experience. And Mohit, thank you so much. This would not have been possible. I've had her books for quite some time, but I never knew how to get connected or, how to attend these sessions. But because of you, I was able to do that. Please don't let go of her. And
there are a few things we can be thankful to Corona, I guess.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
We also have Bindu. She's also from Dubai. We have Dia. She's joining us from Bombay. We have Sangeeta ji. She's in Hi Bindu. Hi. And we have Ketan, who's joining us from Hong Kong. We have Venki from Hyderabad. Mr. Arun Bhatia. Of course, we can't see this handsome hunk today, but yes, we will definitely have a video from him which he will send to us so that we have everyone from the second batch as well. Pranay, Dr. Neeta is not here today, but it's a very interesting batch that is coming up. I have been able to speak to almost everyone who has joined the batch, and Shamin is not here today. I guess she's not been able to come, but yes, thanks a lot, Roopa, for accepting what we intended to do. And that's exactly the idea, was that if we can have the Shruti of the stories, we'll be able to have the Smriti out of them, and we can take them along to all the people that we can. And at least the kids will not think that we are dodos, right? That's the most important thought here. Believe me, I do it for that purpose. So anyone would like to give any thoughts? Otherwise, we have stretched by 15 minutes, but that's okay. With Roopa, it usually goes 1 hour extra, so that's okay. 10 minutes is okay. Yeah.
You have been warned. Coming in batch.
So anyone would like to share anything? The mics are on, the cameras are on. Please.
I would just like to appreciate Mohit and Roopa for this wonderful venture. I think it's really nice to be able to reach out to people about our own ancient scriptures, which we don't know much about. Sadly, we should be knowing. And I think if more and more of our youth and our children know this, we would have done wonders. So thank you. I think it's a wonderful venture. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mohit, those who didn't do very well on the course, I think they need to repeat.
Yeah.
No, they need to have more of these graduation ceremonies every week. So that all the batches can come together. And believe me, it's a thought that I would like to end this evening today. That why not actually do these graduation ceremonies with more people, call them over, and so that we can actually transfer what Vedas were meant to be. They were only spoken, and so that we can continue with this tradition. What do you say, Roopa? What do you say, everyone? We can actually.
Sure.
Yeah, great idea, Mohit.
So while we had a story from Adi Shankaracharya, let me tell everyone who's here. This Sunday we are starting our series on Kerala, which will be a bi-monthly series with our host as Mr. MP Joseph, who has been a IS and ILO officer. And our first guest whom we are interviewing as a fireside chat, he was an MBBS doctor, then he got into IRS. He's an international umpire, cricket umpire. Presently the CEO of the choir board, and he's a ultra marathon runner. And amazingly, the theme of the session is curries, cardamom, and cricket. Because ladies and gentlemen, cricket was never in UP or Delhi only. The first match of cricket in India was played in Calicut. And these are the kind of fascinating stories these two gentlemen will talk. And in our next, so it's a bi-monthly thing. So next we are planning people like Shashi Tharoor's and Manu Pillai's. So keep watching that space. You are all the members, so you will be there. So that's it. So I should say thank you very much and da.
That's a great reminder, Mohit. Thank you so much to you and Roopa, of course. I'm a great fan of us. I've been gifting your books, by the way, on Friendship Day to a couple of my friends, and I said, please read and then please come back and join this course.
Thank you. Thank you, Swami.
Fantastic.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great life. Take care.